Hello everyone, Hammad here. Welcome to my channel, Cloud with Hammad, DIY Cloud Learning to Inspire. For today in our Cloud series, I will be deploying on-premises Active Directory services on Windows 2016 server. This is a 4-part video series and all of them are dependent to each other. In my first video, as always, I will deploy Active Directory services, which is going to be on premises. I will create forest, users, and synchronize those computers. Then in my second video, I will integrate on-premises AD that I just created in my first video and basically integrate that with Azure AD, synchronize object via a tool called AD Connect. Once I synchronize both of on-premises and Azure AD, in my third video, which is actually the exciting part, I will deploy Windows Virtual Desktop using on-premises AD, which is required for deploying Windows Virtual Desktop. And lastly, in my final video, I will deploy Azure PaaS service. It's called Azure Domain Services, that is ADDS, and using the same services to deploy Windows Virtual Desktop. This is required when you don't have an on-premises domain services. But before we do that, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe, like, and share with friends. I would really appreciate it. Now without further ado, let's go to our notes. Alright guys, so first thing first, what I'll do is this is the video we're going to use, and let me define it, what's going to happen in the first part. In first video, what I'll do is as I indicated, I'll deploy a 2016 server. I will install DNS and Active Directory. Will create some forest, and then once I create the forest, I will actually synchronize the forest across the board. Once I do that, I will, in my second video, which is going to be this one, what I'm going to do is I will use a tool called AD Connect, and I will synchronize this domain with our Azure AD so that they both have the same objects. Once that is completed, I will go to my third part, which is actually Windows Virtual Desktop. So that actually is required. This, in order for you to deploy this, you do need domain services, which is up here on the on-premises. And then once that is finished, what we'll do is, once we have deployed a Windows Virtual Desktop, there will be another PaaS service called Azure Domain Control Service, which is ADDS. If, let's say, if you don't have on-premises domain controller, you can use this PaaS service. Deploy here. It will actually deploy 2 containers, and then you basically can use Active Directory to deploy a Windows Virtual Desktop. Alright, so without further delay, let's go to our deployment. Alright guys, so I'm already logged into my Azure portal. First thing first, we can go ahead and create a resource group. So we'll give it a name, pick up a subscription, and we'll give it a name of Active Directory. On-prem, and then you can pick up a region wherever you want to have your Active Directory. I'm gonna be using West US. This is where I am, which is close to me. Click next, and then I will hit review and create. Once that is create, the next step is to create a virtual network. So once that is done, I will hit VNet, and I'll select virtual network, create a virtual network, pick up the subscription. There's a resource group. This is the one that we created. We'll just say on-prem, and then same region. Next, IP address, we'll just use this one as actually, well, let's put it as 24, and then we'll add a subnet. We'll say on-prem subnet, SNet. We'll just give it a 10 dot slash, I would say 27, actually 20, 6. It is overlapping, so let's do this. You got 15 IPs and 5 Azure reserved IPs. Click add, and I will create. Once that is done, the next step is to create a server. So this, what I'm doing right now, let me explain this. So what's going to happen is, right now, obviously I don't have any on-prem right now. I mean, I don't have resources to have on-prem. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually deploying a resource in the cloud, and this resource is considered to be an on-prem resource. So I will call it as an on-prem for you to think that, you know, I am on-prem, but this is happening on the cloud. Same thing. So once network is done, the next step is for you to create a VM. Once you get here, you will create a virtual machine, and you can pick any virtual machine, which is 2016, 2019 server. So for that, just pick up subscription resource group. I would just pick up this resource group. I would give it a name of on-prem AD West US. I don't want redundancy. Server, I think I said 16s, so let's keep it simple. For domain services, we can actually use this one for now. So just give them a name. And then there will be a public input port. So if you do none, you won't be able to remote into this machine, because this is going to be for you to have none. You just need a bastion host for you to jump box into it. But for now, we are logging in because this is a test in a production environment, in an environment where, you know, security is important. You can do none and deploy a bastion host and use that bastion host. It's roughly cost you about $15. But right now, we'll just do allow port. Drop down, we will RDP it because it's a window machine, and then we'll existing, and then I will confirm eligible license. Next, this is a lab, so I'm gonna use standard SDD. So for like premium SSD or higher input output. So I will just keep it that. Security, will just leave it as is. For networking, just we already have a network created. Subnet, will just use this subnet, and there will be a new public IP open. Security group, will just keep it to basic, where inbound allowed to port 3389, and then other virtual appliances within the network. Public inbound, we just set 3389. Load balancing, we don't need it. Next, we don't need to worry about these things. We have talked about it so many times in previous videos. Advanced, next. No tagging required. Review and create. It's going to do a validation. Once validation is complete and passed, we'll hit create, and that's it. So we're going to wait for the resource to get created. It usually takes a minute to get it done, and the submission is in process. Alright, so resource is done. We'll log into the VM and start installing the on-premises domain services. So hit connect, RDP, so it's opening up in my other window. So once this is set up, the next step is to go ahead and install Active Directory domain services. Actually Active Directory. So let it load. So the server manager is loading. Once this is completely loaded, we'll go to our next step. Alright, so this is 2016 server. The next step is to install Active Directory. So for that, you can just go ahead and hit manage, add enroll and feature, or you can just click here. Anywhere it would work just fine. Click to the wizard, and then this is a wizard where it's going to start asking you what to do. Click next. You want to make sure we use role-based or feature-based installation. So we need to configure the single server by adding roles and role services and its features. Click next. Over here, we want to make sure we define what is the server we are installing to. Click next. And then over here, we'll just use this option where it says Active Directory Domain Services, which is on-prem domain services installation. These are the features it's going to ask you to confirm. We'll hit an add. And then also let's set up a DNS server as well, so that will actually help us with when we deploy our fourth video, which is basically we're going to hit continue. And then you can also do IIS. I don't mind doing IIS as well. And then later on we'll install the RSAT tool, but right now we'll just leave it as is. So actually we'll just do remote domain services as well. What else we can install? I think this should be good for now. We'll hit next. And then over here, group policy is selected. What else we can do? I think that will be it. We'll go next. And then it tells you that, hey, you Active Domain Services, you need to have this. Azure Active Directory separate. So we want to make sure when we do that, we have to set up this. So click next, 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 and then it's going to show us the roles. Next, remote desktop services. It's going to install roles. For now, I will just leave it because it will eventually happen. Might as well. I'm just selecting this option. You really don't have to. We will just currently doing the domain services. So click next. Do I need to restart? Why not? I'll just restart. Install. And it's going to start installation the process. Okay, so while it's doing that, I want to show you one more thing. So it's going to ask me to install like Forest. So for that, I wanted to show first a little bit about our AD. So on the cloud, this is our Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. These are users. Right now our primary domain is hammadsiddiqui.ml. So we will use the same domain in our on-premises AD, so that we can have another Forest. You can actually combine that together, and it can work out the same way. It will, so that you can have the same when you sync out the users and computer, it's going to stay the same. So currently we're going to just use this as our domain. So go back to our AD. It's still installing, so we're going to take a break and we'll wait. So once this is completed, what's going to happen is it's going to reboot. So when it reboots, I will come back and try to promote the domain controller. Alright, so it's rebooting. I'm gonna hold, and then I'm gonna try to log back in. Alright guys, so machine is rebooted. Let's try to log back in. So I'm gonna RDP hit. Well, still taking time. Alright, so it is done. Hit close. It installed AD, DNS, file storage, IAS, and then remote desktop. So to check out IAS, what we can do is 1364.52.86. So let's check out that IAS. Actually, copy this. I don't know if, let's see. I don't think that IS would work. Actually, it will work in the same domain, so I might have to go in here and minimize this. Open this actually. Obviously, I should have just disabled this. Oh, it's already disabled, so click here. Ask me later. If I do this, okay. So anyways, I don't know why that's not working. I'm not gonna worry about that for now. Let's go here and then click. Do you see this here? It says post deployment. So you need to promote this to a domain controller. So I'll hit this, and it's gonna ask you to domain you want an existing domain or you want to add a new domain with existing forest. We're just gonna do an add a new forest. For that, we'll just type in hammadsiddiqui.ml. Click next. Domain name, DNS, global catalog, read only. We don't want read only. Password. Click next. We don't need delegation. We'll pick up the NetBIOS DNS name. Click next. It's going to start preparing, verifying the prereqs for domain controller. Once that is done, it's going to install and we will have an AD. These are the messages that it comes in. It tells you all the stuff, delegation, and so you can read it if you like. Click install and it's going to go ahead and promote the domain in domain controller, and it's going to create a forest. Still configuring the DNS, so we'll wait. It's going to sign me out. close. And it's going to restart. All right. All right. So AD is installed, DNS is there, domain services there, on-premises, IIS there as well. All right. So for that, we'll just go to here, tools, and we'll look for computer and users, Active Directory users and computer, and then maximize this. Now you can see a domain we have set up, and then these are all the computers if there is any, and these are the users when the AD is set up for the first time. So what we'll do is we'll actually set up a couple of users so that we have when we set up our, so let's set up a group. For group we can just say Michigan global group. We'll create another group. It's called California, and then we'll have some users, say for Detroit, that is a city in Michigan. We'll use these names to create our Windows desktop, virtual desktop. We'll sync it with our domain in Azure. Click next. Password, we'll just say password never expire. Set up a password. Click next and finish. We'll create another users. We'll just create 2 users. We'll just give them a name of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Actually, we'll just give it an easy name. Ann Arbor. Next. And next. Finish. We'll create 2 more users. This will be in California. Next, we'll create 1 more users, and we'll just say San Jose. Next. So you got a group I created, so if I click here, so you can click here and you can change domain controller. Help is there. Delegate control, view, add, remove. Okay, so once that is done, what we'll do is I want to make sure that you see users here. You can see I created users, 4 of them. Ann Arbor, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Fremont, California, San Jose, California, and then there is a test admin, which is a local administrator account for this group. And then we have we didn't create any computer, so that's about it. Alright, so we deployed the Active Directory domain services on premises. This is our first video. In this video, just to recap, we actually deployed a domain controller and installed Active Directory on it. And the next video would be to join this domain with Azure Active Directory. That will be it for today. Until next time, have a great day.